Hey, Shawn, how you doing? Shawn, can you hear me? Hi, everybody. We're going to get started in a second. We're just waiting on. There you go.
I'm
Shawn, can you hear
here.
me now?
I'm actually here. Michael, I'm here.
Hey,
Oh,
Michael.
can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry about that. Roman's coming too. But he got trapped on another call that he can't get off of.
Shawn, all good. All good. No worries. I'm just happy you guys are here. I heard you guys were doing a client visit.
Yeah. We had a bunch of stuff all at once.
Well,
And getting back from Washington D.C. can take a while sometimes, and that's what happened.
oh, is that where you guys were coming from?
That's where I was coming from. Roman was coming from Jiffy Lube Live, which is one of our big
Gotcha.
clients.
Well, I want to first thank you for attending. I'm going to ask everybody on the call right now if you could mute yourself. If you have any questions, and please go ahead and type them in, and then Kate will ask the questions on your behalf at some point. But if you haven't sat in on one of these, hey, there's Roman. How you doing? What we're going to do is ask a series of questions, and either one of you can answer. And then we'll get started. But thank you very much. Use the chat function on the right if you do have a question. If you can't hear, I'm getting a message that if they can't hear. There might be a setting on the audio where right next to it says mute. You might have to find a different speaker. So without further ado, Shawn and Roman, thank you again. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves real quick, and then I'll get into our questions.
Well, I'm Shawn Flaherty, and this is Roman Blazowskis, and we're the owners of SpeedPro Northern Virginia, right outside Washington, D.C., by Dulles Airport.
All right.
And we've been owners for 10 years.
So let's take a step back. Talk to us about both of your backgrounds prior to owning SpeedPro.
You might want to do, okay, so you do yours and then I'll do mine.
Okay, go for it. Being taped.
All right. Good afternoon. My name is Roman Blazowskis. I've been a SpeedPro owner for 10 years. In my previous life, I was a CFO, COO for about 25 plus years, working in the nonprofit trade association world. I handled everything from accounting, HR to internal operations.
And I'm Shawn Flaherty. My background is public relations, and I actually currently own a PR firm. And before I started my own PR firm in a signage company, printing company, I was in PR with Freddie Mac and other trade associations prior to that.
Gotcha. Okay. And okay, so after you guys decided you wanted to maybe get out of the corporate world, talk to us about what other opportunities. Well, how did you find out about SpeedPro, and then what other opportunities were you guys looking at? Because there's a lot of folks on this call right now from all over the country, and everybody's looking at not just SpeedPro. I mean, I wish they were, right? But there's other opportunities out there. So talk to us a little about why SpeedPro, how'd you hear about us? And then we'll talk about the other other opportunities you were working with.
Well, at the time, I didn't have a job. Previous employer, new president came on board, and he wanted to have his own CFO. And I took the summer off, biked around in shorts and a t-shirt and flip-flops, tried to figure out what I want to do when I grew up. And Shawn and I had been talking off and on for a few years about buying our own business. And I said, this might be the best time because I don't have to worry about leaving a job. So we looked around, started researching a little bit about different opportunities and how to get engaged in small business. Shawn knew somebody in the SpeedPro world who owned a studio in Maryland. So we spoke to them a little bit about it. We retained a franchise consultant who helped us kind of identify what would be good fits for us. And we had a couple different opportunities, but the SpeedPro model really appealed to us. I'm a closet architect, so I like the design aspect. And this gave me the opportunity to be involved in that type of environment. And we just took it from there. And it's been a home run.
So Shawn, other than your background in like PR marketing, neither one of you had a graphic design background, correct? Or you were creative,
Neither of us
but
had, no, I mean, except for me managing designers over the years, but no, I was not a designer. Now I just
So-
play one on TV.
so what interested you? I know, again, there's a lot of folks on the call. A lot of folks love the Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, B2B business model. What intrigued you enough to pursue SpeedPro?
We were looking for a business that we could be proud of the product and be more ingrained in the community, because both of us had come out of corporate and it had a different feel. We didn't know other businesses in our community. We didn't know the local scene as well. And SpeedPro gave us all of that, the opportunity to be creative, to have an amazing product that we can see, and everywhere we go, our employees are really proud of it. It's high quality. We love the SpeedPro model too, because of the interaction with all the other owners, and corporate. It's a great support system. So that's what drew us, and we are so now ingrained in this community where we live and work in a very different way, and that's been incredibly gratifying.
One of the biggest features and one of the best parts about SpeedPro, it's not really a franchise. It's a network of studios, and more importantly, it's a network of friends. We all work together, we collaborate together, we commiserate together, right? The challenges that we go through, but we share experiences, and so we don't compete with each other. We actually collaborate, and we help, and we grow each other's businesses. And there's not many business models out there that I know of that have the same value that SpeedPro has.
It's a really good point. And just hopefully it's not distracting. I've got pictures of your studio kind of running in the background, and I want to talk about your studio in a second, but I want to talk about that a little bit more, Shawn and Roman. Being a part of the community, everybody on this call right now, that is something that I think, enhance success, you have to be a part of your community, either in the beginning of owning your studio or it's ongoing. And I think you guys have made that a pretty normal occurrence, right, in your everyday work life, is you are a part of the community. Do you still do networking events?
When we started in Open SpeedPro, it started with representing nonprofit organizations in our community. We donated money to one of the Loud and Hunger Relief when we opened our doors. It has been the most gratifying experience to know that SpeedPro Northern Virginia has a major impact on those who are less fortunate in our communities. The byproduct of that is SpeedPro Northern Virginia has grown because its name is out there and people know who the company is and what they represent and the values that they hold. And people want to do business with organizations that value the same things that they value.
Yeah, it's a great answer. All right, I want to go back to your decision-making process. Now, there's other franchises out there like Fast Signs and Signorama and Alpha Graphics. Probably everybody's been exposed to them on the call. What was it about SpeedPro versus those types of opportunities that you decided to move forward with SpeedPro?
We looked at we only looked at one other sign franchise, and it was more of a business opportunity, is how they said. And it just didn't seem as, the culture of SpeedPro, with all the owners knowing each other and being involved and talking and sharing and having a plan. SpeedPro corporate had a plan for us to jump right in and become large format printing people. It's not like either of us had been that before.
Right.
And learn from corporate, learn from each other, have a training opportunity that made it really interesting to us. And we had also been given other opportunities outside of the printing world. And this one just stuck with us, the creativity, the pride in work. I mean, the whole culture at SpeedPro is a product that we can be proud of. You know, everyone is, we're not trying to be the cheapest or we're trying to be the best. And that, you know, that whole be a solution provider for our clients and for our community.
All right. I want to take another step back from right now, right? If you guys could talk about it. And how long have you owned your studio? Has it been 11 years?
Just over 10 wonderful years.
Okay. Try to remember a little bit about opening up your studio. Can you talk to us about finding a location? Talk to us a little bit about your location, because you're in your current location. That, again, these pictures that are rolling through, that was your first location, correct?
Nope, that's
No, you moved.
Same
Okay.
building, second location.
Okay. So talk to us about finding a location, that process, because again, that's important to folks right now on the call. I know you guys are 10 years past that, but if you can just put that, hey, I'm a brand new SpeedPro studio owner hat on, talk to us about that experience.
So part of it is the value of knowing other speed pros and gaining their experience and their knowledge. Extremely helpful for us in the beginning. We spent about 9 to 10 months trying to identify a space. We looked at all types of different spaces. The model called for about 3,000 square feet. I did not want to go to a place where I wouldn't be happy every day. I had to go to a place where it was nice, it was neat, it was comfortable, it had a homey feeling to it. That was important for me, and it was important for the image of the company. We wanted people to be able to walk into our studio and not feel like a tangible good. We wanted them to feel like they're walking into the house. They're looking for the remote control, you know, cold drink and a couch, and chill out for a little bit, right? That's our mindset. And that's when you get to know people better, when they're comfortable and they're relaxed. So we actually went with the 2,000 square foot space, found a landlord who was absolutely phenomenal. He's more than a landlord, he's a friend of ours, takes great care of us. As our business grew, we needed more space. And during COVID, we were thinking, you know, we were looking for more space because we needed bigger equipment. The landlord had a space available, but hadn't put it, you know, he hadn't been able to lease it. And he finally came and said, Roman, we want you to stay here. What's it going to take for you to stay? So we've worked really hard on maximizing what it takes to grow a business, not from a personnel standpoint, but equipment and space standpoint. We maximize the use of our space. We have about 4,800 square feet now total. We still only have 5 staff, and we've had 5 staff for the last 3 years, and we've grown about 30-some%. So we've stayed in the same place. We've increased our equipment as we've grown, so we've taken advantage of technology and still been able to maintain the workflow and maintain a relatively good work-life balance. We're not putting in long hours, but you know, there are certain times when we have peak that we do work a little bit harder. But we located a space that worked for us, that met what we wanted to do. It showcased who we were, and then we grew the business from there. So we were able to continually invest back into the business and grow it, and then expand our space as time moved on.
So I want to just touch on the equipment that you started off with. I'm assuming it was an eco-solvent roll-to-roll printer, probably an Epson or a Roland, right? And
Yep.
you had a plotter and a laminator. The plotter was,
Yep.
I'm assuming 54 inches or smaller, and your laminator was a seal-based laminator. And the folks on this call, they're starting out, if they're looking at a new studio, they are going to be starting out with something similar, but it would be the HP latex, which you guys have. You have the columnistral laminator, and they start out with the Suma plotter. You guys, I think, have a Graphtec. But talk to us about opening up a studio with those 3 pieces of equipment, and then gradually growing into what you have. You have an EFI, it's beautiful. Talk to us about that process.
Yeah, the EFI is Big Red, or Sean likes to call him
Clifford.
Clifford. We started with Roland EcoSolvent roll-to-roll printer. We had a Roland plotter and a Royal Sovereign laminator, which we still have that. Within about a year of us, our doors being open, even a little less than that, we decided to take the plunge and go for a flatbed. I kind of did the math on it, and we would be able to recoup our investment within about 11 to 12 months, which isn't much when you think about the investment to the machine. And it changed our life. If you invest, again, if you invest back into your business, it's going to grow exponentially. So we knew that getting a flatbed was the next evolution of the process. We got that into place. That took us to the next level. Our next piece of equipment after that, actually our Roland died on us, so we replaced it with the Epson roll-to-roll printer. We moved into new space and got the Colix 7032 router, which again is a game changer because now we can print and cut in seconds as opposed to 10 minutes at a time. And we can do most of the cutting in-house. And then we decided, we grew so much that the flatbed was the next thing to upgrade. So after having the flatbed for 7 years, we brought in the EFI. Again, when you look at time management, we were printing on a piece of coroplast. It took us a little over 9 minutes. We're doing it in 2 minutes, 7 seconds. So we can do over 4 times the amount of work, plus cut it down. We're done with 100 signs in about 11 minutes, 12 minutes wrapped.
Okay, you've just opened up a whole bunch of questions. I want to, everything you just said was great. Talk to us about the competitive advantage that the flatbed gave you when you eventually brought it on.
Time, capacity are the two biggest things. You're able to do more and faster.
And were you able to do, a lot of like there's a term called wholesale, right? That I think SpeedPro, particularly in this industry, does more than a lot of the competition. Talk to us about your relationships in the wholesale world, if any.
Our wholesale business wasn't as big. We have more of the retail market, and then we have another tier, nonprofit tier. Our wholesale business is really about 40 to 50% of our business. I think other SpeedPros at the time were significantly higher. But we did bring in the flatbed. One of the things we don't apologize for, and Sean alluded to it earlier, is we don't apologize for our price. We're a value. We're not the most expensive one out there, but we want to tell people that you're getting more than just that tangible good. You're getting SpeedPro Northern Virginia behind it. We're there for you. We'll help you out. And we provide them other
Great advice all the time.
Yeah, about other things. So we may not do it, but we're going to show them where to go or help them find it. So the value is getting that flatbed. You're able to, your capacity changes more. It allows your staff to be able to be more fluid and meeting your employees' demands, and you're able to do more things with it, right? And the other thing is you become a little bit more savings because you're not having to waste as much material. So we saw that the evolution was going on the flatbed. So moving there was definitely something that we wanted to do, and we wanted to get there really quickly. And again, that when we put that in, we didn't adjust our price as much, but our business took off. I mean, it just gave us the capability to do so much more. So I highly recommend that as soon as you can move into that market, you do it and get something to help you grow your business.
But the beauty of the SpeedPro model was the business in a box, I'll call it. Stuff showed up. We could open our doors. There were trash cans. Everything was there. It made it a lot easier in the hand holding and the advice and the other SpeedPros, because it is, there's a learning curve. You bring a lot of what you came with corporate experience, whatever, but there's a learning curve. And that gives you the opportunity to get your feet wet, learn, grow your business, and even the ramp up time working with other SpeedPros to, while you're setting up, we use that a lot. We spent a year having other people print for us, and we were just out there building our our book of business. And then on top of that, we do have wholesale, and they've been great partners and great part of the way that's helped us keep growing and have helped actually to probably keep some of them out of the market from buying some of our machines like ours. But yeah, that's a part of the model. Everyone's got a little bit different take on how they do their, which is the beauty of SpeedPro too, is you can craft your business the way makes sense for you, makes sense for your market.
And to Sean's point, before you open your studio, we were assigned a buddy studio. We were their number 4 or 5 client before we had actually had our brick and mortar space.
Mm-hmm.
So we had grown a really strong base clientele. So when we opened our doors, we were doing a significant amount of business on day one. The machine was running immediately.
Yeah, Roman and Shawn, I want to echo that, because I tell people, I want you to be excited about opening up your business, not your doors. And Janet, you're on the call right now. You just heard me say that about 10 minutes ago. I mean, I think that's the best thing about SpeedPro, is that you can start to sell, and a buddy studio will print for you while you're finding a location. And I think that's a great aspect of it. And so, I mean, we had folks in, Chattanooga that were working with somebody in Dallas. You know what I mean? Or there was a guy in Oklahoma City working with somebody in Dallas. The guy in Chattanooga was working with somebody in Atlanta. So
amazing part of the learning.
Right. So when we talk about wholesale, I keep getting stuck on this. When we talk about wholesale, that's typically a retail sign business, a print business, an ad agency. It's somebody that's selling your products for their customers. So you're working silently. I just wanted to clear that up for everybody on the call right now when you're thinking about what's Steve talking about with wholesale.
Yeah, they're your sales force, basically. It's
right.
Great to have you're willing to take a discount to have them out selling for you, in
That's
essence, right?
All right, I want to talk about that first year. I want to, share whatever information you want. It could be very little, it could be a lot. It's up to you guys. Talk about that first year sales and then how you've ramped up into where you are today.
So the first year sales, while we were still looking for a studio, the first year after we opened the studio?
I mean, if you want to talk about both, I mean, look.
So
yeah.
They are 2 parallel paths. So going back to really growing your business, we went out, we networked, we joined the local chambers, we joined other organizations, we went and visited potential clients. We went and met with people who we knew from our prior lives and talked with them and told them about what we were doing. So we started building up a strong network of potential clients or people who could introduce us to potential clients. So that was a huge part of growing our business before we opened our doors. After we opened our doors, we had built that base up, but now because we had opened our doors, we went back to people who were a little bit apprehensive about doing business with us because they weren't sure what we were, but they saw that we had the doors. We did a grand opening event. We had well over 200 people at our grand opening event. People knew who SpeedPro Northern Virginia was, and theoretically it had only been around for 13 months. The doors had only been open for less than 2 months, but we had built such a good base in the networking world in our area that people wanted to be there. They wanted to see us, and our name grew. We started focusing on what was strong, what were areas that were good for us. We wanted to do a lot in the way of architecture, office work. So we hooked up with organizations or companies that were doing a lot of that type of work. We got a lot of referrals from other SpeedPros. Our number 1 client for each of the last 8 years was a referral from another SpeedPro.
Wow.
Last year, as a matter of fact, a referral from another SpeedPro. In the last 3 months of the year, that client was our number 5 client for the year. And it was a massive business. So building up that network, building up your SpeedPro friendship. This hasn't been asked yet, but anybody who wants to get involved in SpeedPro, go to the annual conference every single year. If you don't have money, borrow the money. Ask your parents, ask your kids, ask whomever. It is the best thing that you can do for yourself. We meet other speed pros. We learn from other speed pros. We get referrals from other speed pros. Our business is where we are today. And I can go back to the first time we went to the conference in March 2014 in Dallas. We met so many terrific people who gave us tremendous guidance and advice that we took home to us. And that's where our business grew. I mean, we still go back to that first year. And I was talking to a former owner the other day, and he said the same thing. The annual, and he was one of the top studios and has been for years. He said the annual conference is the best thing. He goes, he learned so much, and he was a top studio. That's how valuable that conference is.
I feel like
And every time we travel today, we still go I think for years and years, even before we open, we always go and meet studios because you learn from each other. You see their space, how they operate, how they're, I don't know, there's something about having a conversation with someone and being part of the SpeedPro family.
I feel like your answers are scripted because they're so good. I really mean that. All right, so talk to us about how SpeedPro helped with the learning curve. I know you talked about other Speed Pros, but again, there's training involved. You didn't come from this industry, so talk to us about that process, that initial training, the support that you got.
Yeah, well, I know that when you first open, it's a scary thing because you just started something brand new. But that was also one of the reasons we liked opening a franchise, is because you're not starting from scratch. You don't have to develop your own brilliant idea. You're using someone else's brilliant idea and building on it. And that's what SpeedPro brought for us. So we, like I said, you'll see shelves in those pictures and tables. A lot of that all came from SpeedPro because you buy it. It's the business in a box. But then you show up and you have training of.
Hey, Shawn, you're muted.
Then you have training from corporate and showing you how to market and how to work machines and understanding more about the materials and all sorts of things like that, which are really, it's a lot to take in, but it's all really important and a way to start your business. But then also along the way, as you're building your Rolodex of SpeedPro people, because I don't call as many of them as I did when I first started, but there was a day when we didn't call somebody asking, hey, I heard you talk about this. Can you answer that question? And now we still avail of ourselves of that. It's such a great learning network, but it started with a great training and immersion into the business.
Yeah, one of the things we did things a little bit differently than I think other people had done at the time. I kind of wanted to soften the landing when we opened the doors for our new staff. Shawn and I spent a lot of time meeting with suppliers, vendors, and other people in the industry. So we brought our staff in 3 days before they used to do in-house training for us. And so we brought the staff in 3 days in advance. We brought in some suppliers to do a show and tell. And then we did a road trip to another Speed Pro so they could see what another Speed Pro looked like. And then we went over what Shawn and my vision was of the company and how we saw the growth and how we saw everybody working together. So when we got to the training part, learning about what was a cast and calendar material and what was a PVC versus a polystyrene was so below the bar that we could learn a lot more. And we were able to take advantage of more that SpeedPro had to offer in our training days. So helping soften the landing a little bit, I think went a long way in SpeedPro coming in and being able to train us on things that other SpeedPros didn't have that opportunity.
Right. Thank you. I want to talk a little bit about, well, first of all, how many people did you start out with when you opened up? Was it one production manager, or did you also have a salesperson?
So we had basically 3.5. Shawn's actually a half-time person for us. So we started with the marketing person and a production person and myself for full-time. And then Shawn was half-time.
So Yeah, and so for the model, as it is today, it's the same thing. You're opening up with a production manager, and then in due time, you are going to hire a marketing individual. That person really focuses on inside sales, and they're kind of an extension of the owner themselves. Um, and so you've only added a few more people since you opened.
One.
Okay. And that's the thing. When you're a retail sign shop or a retail print shop, if they're doing the sales you're doing, they're going to have 10, 11 people working for them because they're limited in space. They don't have the equipment, which makes them more efficient. So, kudos to you guys for growing it that way. Talk to us about a
Steve,
day in, yeah.
Two things that are very important there. One is making sure you have the right equipment, not for today, but for 3 years from now, so that you're able to grow your business. Two, make sure that you hire the right people. Those two things will absolutely streamline your business.
So with that being said, are you paying your folks more than probably, the guy down the street?
I don't know. I don't know if we are or we're not. We create an environment that people want to be here. Our production manager has been with us 6 years. Our marketing person has been with us 3 years. And our new production manager has been with us 1.5 years. They like it here. It's a family feel. It's challenging sometimes. It can be intense sometimes, but the overall environment, like they bring like our production manager brought their dog to work today, right? Where we want to feel like a family, and we do some little things that other companies don't do. We close the week of Christmas and say, you guys go spend the time with your family. We'll see you when you come back on July 2nd or whatever it is.
June 2nd. I mean, January 2nd. Yeah.
That's it, July 2nd?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, January 2nd. Little things, right? And we don't nickel and dime them. We treat them with respect. We hold them accountable, but we want them to feel that they are part of the solution, right? And
Gotcha,
we
yeah.
encourage them to participate. And people value that.
All right, talk to us about a day in the life when you started out versus leading up. I mean, look, you guys are, Roman, I think you were already, you were coming from a client visit just now, but talk to us about the day in the life in the beginning, starting out, and then to what it is today.
Boy, it's hard to compare in some ways because we do so much more business in a day now, and it just becomes second nature, so you know how to manage it, and that's part of the growth cycle is setting up your processes. But definitely it's coming in, it's going to meetings. Both of us belong to a chamber. Originally I belonged to a BNI. That's a great starting point. I didn't feel like it was worthwhile after 2.5 years for me to continue there. And then we each find different verticals that we go after, that we have relationships out in the public with. So I belong to a meeting professionals group because event planners buy a lot of signs for their clients. So that's a lot of, Roman and I do a lot of that, and then quoting, as does our customer service marketing person. She does a lot of quoting. Then we have our two production people. So when they come in, one comes in earlier, the other comes in a little later. They get the files set up, the machines going. And when things get done, that things get moved over into the system. We know they're done. Kim, our marketing customer service person, makes sure that people get contacted and they come and pick it up, or if it gets delivered, we make sure it happens, or if it gets installed, we get it organized so something can get installed. So day in the life of us is a lot of things,
It's evolved. So filling your day in the beginning, and I think for owners on this call or potential owners on this call that are looking to buy an existing SpeedPro, you've got to be a part of the community. Just because you've got sales coming in doesn't mean that you are going to hide behind your doors. You need to be a part of the community. You need to be able to grow your business, and joining networking events is important. And I always suggest to people, join as many networking events as you can, like you guys probably did. And then you can cancel some of them out if you don't see the value.
And then there are a lot of, so it's a very big referral business once you establish yourself. We always stay engaged though. I mean, we're both on charitable boards too, and that's so great because we feel good about what we're doing, but we're on charitable, we're on chamber boards, chamber groups, and we're out in the community and committees. We're very involved. It's that people know you, they trust you. That's a big thing, trust. And then they start referring. And then we also have, you know, we avail ourselves a lot of the corporate programs. Corporate manages our website. We do updates occasionally, but it's a wonderful thing not to have to worry about it minute to minute. And then we invest in the pay-per-click program that corporate offers. It's awesome. Got a $100,000 client this year from them just contacting us via our pay-per-click ads that we're running, and all that is organized through corporate, which is another thing you don't have to worry about minute to minute. It's nice, not because you have so many hats you have to wear when you are a small business owner. It's great to have a back office, I'll call it, for corporate being our back office for some of the things that they provide, including our sign management system, pay-per-click, website, all sorts of great things, which we don't have to run every day.
You kind of took that answer. That answer was a question that I was going to ask coming up about the biggest driver of the business. Obviously, in the beginning, you want to do networking events, you want to do online pay-per-click, and then those all kind of turn into referrals. You know, every job you do, you know, your customer is proud of it, and then they're going to promote you. And that's the one thing I do love. And then, you know, it's funny, my wife always yells at me when we're like at a restaurant and I'm touching signs. I'm like, is this UV printed? Is this plotted? You know what I mean? So
yeah, we're creepy sign touchers too. You walk everywhere and you touch signs. Yes.
The airport, when you walk to the airport, people look at you funny.
Yeah, when we're touching.
Oh, you guys did work at Dulles?
No, we just walk through and touch all the work that goes on there.
Got it. Yeah.
What did they do?
You know,
that's funny.
You know, the advice that we learned for anybody who wants to be a new SpeedPro, whether they're buying new or they're buying existing, is one is make touches, right? Just touch with people. You don't have to do business with them, but go out and meet them and give them the time, right? You know, just say hi to them, talk with them, because you don't know who they know. And number two, don't be afraid. The worst you can do is fail. And those are two best bits of advice that we received. We took on a massive job our first summer. We had the doors open. It's actually our number one client. And we were sitting around the table. We didn't have installers. We didn't know how we were going to put it up. And my son was interning us for the summer. He was actually interning, making money and selling. He wasn't just collecting a paycheck. And he goes, Dad, we can do it. Tell him that we'll do the job. And I go, but you know, I'm afraid of heights. He goes, Dad, you don't worry about that. We'll get it done. So my production manager, our son Connor, and myself, we printed, I don't know how many extra copies of this stuff. We rented a scissor lift, and we spent the whole day at about 90-degree temperatures, 95-degree temperatures, getting these signs up, and got it done, you know? And, you know, you find a way to do it. And the client was ecstatic that we did it for them in such a short period of time. And they don't go to anybody else. They love who we are. And
we feel good. We felt good. We were able to problem solve, and we're problem solvers for our clients. And I think that's what is part of the SpeedPro model is we're all problem solvers.
It's a great story. I mean, look, that's what I always tell people. You know, most of the folks on this call looking at building a new studio, the companies in your territory are working with somebody currently. You know, it's not tumbleweeds flying around, right? The reality is they're going to go to you because they need a solution, and you have the capacity to do it. And that's a great story, Roman, because that's your biggest customer today. And it's because you helped them out with a solution. It's a great story. All right. I got 4 more questions. And so I want to make sure I hit these. Talk to us about your relationship in your local market regarding competition. Is there competition? Do you look at competition as competition, or do you look at them more as like a strategic partner?
So I don't look at anybody as a competitor. I look at them as a colleague. We know a few of them. We don't know them too well. But the way I look at it, and Shawn and I look at it, is if there's 25 of them in business and 2 go out of business, no big deal, right? If there's 25 in business and 15 go out of business, we're in trouble. Then there's an issue with the industry, right? So as long as they're out there, and you can utilize, look at what they do, right? You look at the work that they do, you can learn from them, you talk with them, find out what they're doing. A lot of times we'll collaborate with them and talk with them about it. They'll come to us and we've gone to them to do work for us and we've done work for them. So they can be a partner with you. It's better to have your enemies at the dinner table than it is to have them on the other side of the fence.
We've done a lot of work for some of the others in this region too, because maybe their machine breaks and they come to us. And you know, we don't steal their client. We rather them be a wholesaler to us as well.
Trusted partner.
Yeah.
That's one of our values, is trusted partner.
It's great.
So, yeah.
And so what happens? So again, you guys focus on large and wide format graphics. So when, you know, your largest customer comes to you and says, you know, Roman and Shawn, I need business cards, or I need a new channel letter. Are you taking that and then hiring a sign company to do that? Or what's that process look like?
Yes, that's what we'll do that. So depending on who the client is, will depend on whether or not we do it. So it's funny you asked that question. Our largest client, we are going to do light boxes for them. We're doing that for them. And we have a partner that we're working with, actually to one of our installers, and they're going to handle it for us. And they stay in the background. We do business cards, and we don't do marketing brochures, but sometimes we'll do business and some do some brochures for some of our regular clients. If it's a one-off client, we just refer them to one of our wholesale partners and let them get it directly. And
makes them happy too. That way we can do a referral.
And we spread the wealth.
Gotcha.
And part of this is style, because Roman's much more likely to say yes, and I'm much more likely to say, I'm not doing that.
So you offer it as an ancillary service to your larger repeat customers.
Yeah, if they really
things that
need
are
it.
outside of your core.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
If it makes their life easier and keeps them happy. But most of the time it's also a way for us just to refer to one of our wholesale partners, printers, that's already making them happy. So there's a lot that goes into it, but lots of ways to do this business.
Got it. Okay. Let's move on. I got a few different people ask me to ask this. What would you have done differently if you could do it all over again?
Started this earlier.
Over there we go, when we're younger.
Seriously. I mean, I was talking to somebody, I had lunch with somebody today. I said, I am such a better person today than I was 10 years ago. Such a better person. I wish I'd started this and taken the leap of faith 10 years earlier. I may not have been with SpeedPro. That might have been the downside. I've been somebody else.
Sure.
But had it been SpeedPro, I wish I'd done it 10 years. I wish I'd taken the leap of faith earlier. It has been, you know, we've had our challenges along the way. I'm not going to lie to anybody. But the way that you feel, it is so humbling. It's such a great feeling that it makes it worthwhile. I mean, owning your own business, being part of a network of other people who have similar interests as you, the whole gamut is just fantastic.
Yep.
It's a great answer. Shawn, do you want to add to that? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I agree. It's just we're not, by the way, I meant to add this, is that we are risk averse people. So for us to be doing this business and making big decisions to buy bigger machines and succeeding is kind of crazy, but that's also the beauty of working with a franchise.
Thank you. All right. Here's a question. You kind of touched on it earlier, but has SpeedPro met your initial financial expectations? So when you guys were looking at, you know, the FDD 11 years ago, and SpeedPro is trying to convince you to do this, and you're looking at the item 19, you know, has it met your financial expectations now that you're looking back?
I'll let the CFO talk.
I recoup my investment. That was my big thing. So You know,
And
our value of our business is very high. You know, that's what I look at, is what's the value of my business. It's up there. That's what was important, right? So I wanted to make sure we've invested into it. I do a lot of data and research on everything. So we are more than better off than we would have been. And we're very happy with what we're doing right now as a business and where we are financially. And as we go back to the end, as what we've been able to do to impact the community. So
right.
it's actually more than financial to us. It's also from the heart as well.
And we've had growth every single year, substantial growth, except for the COVID year, which we used as a year to buy it, expand, figure out, add a staff. You know, instead of going backwards and laying people off, we decided we were going to use it as a year where we retooled, and it worked. And next year we were way up again. So
we were up 75%.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to ask one more question, and then I'll close this out. I did get a question here. What's the most challenging part of the business since you started? Is it client retention? I'm not trying to answer it for you. Is it customer acquisition?
COVID was challenging, but we made the most of it.
Right.
I'll tell you, the most challenging really is when the machines aren't running. You're wondering if you're going to be making any money.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But you know, that you get a little nervous when the machines aren't running, but the staff they're in tune to what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, how it's supposed to be done. So you're absolutely in tune with it. But I would say every time I don't hear the machines running for a long period of time, I get a little nervous. But then all of a sudden they fire up and they're going. And I said we're more efficient now, 6 months after getting the EFI, than we were before. So we're able to crank things out real quickly.
And one of the last things I'll say is you learn to be, and definitely that first year, but over time, who your real clients are. I mean, you do not want one of the mistakes you make when you're very young in the business is discounting too much, because then you're stuck with it. So really the value.
Don't undervalue yourself.
Don't undervalue, and really be a B2B. Business to business is where you want to be, not birthday banners for little Joey who's turning 5. No.
Steve, can I add one thing about community before you wrap up? I think this is important for us as a SpeedPro in Northern Virginia, especially for us.
Sure.
We had a client, our number one client, they had a sign breakdown. They needed it replaced before the show on a Saturday. I didn't have installers to do it. I needed to get it done. One of our clients came in and said, Rome, how's it going? I said, terrible. He goes, what's wrong? He goes, I got to get the sign up by Saturday morning, 2 days from now. I said, I don't have any installers. He goes, I'll help you do it. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, you're a client. He goes, I got you covered. He showed up at 6 o'clock on Saturday morning with all his tools. We drove out to the place, put the new signpost in. I was home by 9:30. That says volumes about your business. And he's now one of our best friends. Absolutely. He's a fantastic guy.
I love that story. It's a great story. Thank you for sharing that. Well, all right, is there anything that maybe we didn't cover that you guys want to bring up? Any final words or thoughts for, again, everybody on this call? They're thinking about jumping out of the airplane and going into business for themselves. Like Will Smith, there was a good interview of him, and he talks about jumping out of an airplane. He's like, I was so scared, but he's like, once I did it, it wasn't that scary,
Well, we're risk averse people, and we did it, and we've made big decisions that have paid off, and it is an incredibly rewarding experience, because everything you do, good or bad, it's you, right? And that's it's you and your staff and your family and your friends. It's amazing.
I would say that don't worry about the money. Worry about growing the business. The money is going to be there, and make sure you do it the right way. It pays off tremendously.
All right. Well, Roman and Shawn, thank you so much. Kate's going to be in touch with you after this call to show our appreciation. So thank you again. Everybody on this call, thank you very much for your participation, your questions. I am going to send this recording to everybody. So please contact me if you have any questions. And if you have anything you want to ask Shawn and Roman, ask me and I'll ask them. But thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it.
Good luck
Great
in
job.
your quest. Thanks.
Good luck, everybody.
Thank you.